Greetings to everyone. So today I'm going to continue reviewing the Eio PR. I started a few hours ago, and I think I've already found some bugs by inspection. I'm going to just verify that they are indeed bugs, and we'll see what happens. First, I want to try something. I set up a bot that allows viewers to highlight lines from within the stream. So just make sure it works. Yeah, all right. Okay, so that works. All right, so I believe that there's a bug in this function. So if someone calls dream.body, how to best do this? That's pretty annoying. I want to move this to the right workspace, but there's a terminal there, so it doesn't want to do it. Okay. So if someone calls dream.body, if there isn't already a body, then we will inevitably call stream read until close. And in the past, there was an LWT poll here, I believe, which guarded this. Right, so what's going on with this UI? It's like resetting back to the top. Okay, so in the past there was this poll for the promise state. So I think this behavior is like fundamentally different. The idea here is that actually no, that's not correct. Yeah, looking over here. In the past this returned a promise. Now this returns just a string after doing a bunch of potentially blocking IO. Right, because looking at stream MLI, right, so in the past, let's make sure we're on the EIO branch. Right, so in the past, this returned a promise potentially. Damn it, it's getting really annoying. But now it always returns a string after potentially doing quote-unquote blocking IO. It's not really blocking. It's just there might be some effects that occur in the course of this function being evaluated, which is kind of weird, right? Because functions, these aren't really functions anymore. These are procedures. I should call this a procedure. It's actually really weird that there's no annotation on the function that this is a procedure. So arguably one of the drawbacks of EIO. So anyway, so when read until close gets called, if one of these gets spawned, let's see, like if I call body concurrently, basically, so this read until close is a procedure that might block, effectively block an effects. So that allows a concurrent call to body to occur. If this concurrent call occurs, given that this is the only way for message body to be sent, it will cause a concurrent call to stream read until close, which will inevitably create a second promise. And inevitably begin reading because this loop function will definitely get called. And so we'll have two concurrent reads going on of ephemeral data. So this is definitely wrong. I'm gonna write a message about that and see if William Brink wants to respond to that. What's the best place to put this? I'm gonna put this here because this is where there's a change. So this read until close is now a procedure. So rather than evaluating to promise, it's now going to return a string after potentially blocking in effects, or like, yeah, in effect handlers or something. So call to message that body. This allows a concurrent call. I should say, in my understanding. In my understanding. This allows a concurrent call to be made, which will. So a call to can block. When I say block, I mean in the effect sense. So a call to message that body can block after starting some IO in stream read until close. As a result, message that body will not have set the body field until that procedure completes. Yeah, it's important not to, yeah, it's kind of annoying, right? Because with LWT, you could basically functions were always functions. They would just sometimes return promises. Roughly speaking, always functions as to the extent that's even possible in OCaml. So functions were functions, but they return promises, and the promises that they returned kind of suggested to you that the underlying the function actually referred to as the beginning of a procedure, an IO procedure. But now with effect handlers, functions, some functions that look in the type system like functions are actually effect-causing procedures that can block inside effects. So that's kind of, and there's no like type information about that, right? That little annotation on the return on the result type is like missing now. So I think this is like ultimately the source of this error. So let me put my photos on. A second. Okay. This allows a concurrent calls a message, which will call stream read until close again. Read causing basically starting a second read. What's wrong with me? This microphone is getting in the way. Second read of the same ephemeral data stream. I think this has to be or some other primitive, synchronization primitive has to be used to prevent this. Anyway, that's my understanding right now. Right. So I'm going to put a link to this. And oops, yeah, in this file. Okay. So I think this is like a bug, but it's not a deadly bug. I can still continue to review my inspection. Although this is kind of intimidating over here. Okay, so this looks analogous. So this probably just this, everything's the same, right? Yeah. I should probably review Stream, but Stream ML is already, it's pretty simple. And I believe I reviewed everything that's like significant in it. Basically, this promise out here has to be, what's happening with this UI? It keeps like twitching back up. So this promise basically has to be preserved by the caller. So I think this function is fine. It's just, oh no, that's not right. That's not correct. This is gonna have to probably go. Thank you, Anzi. On ZH. So this function is probably gonna have to go, this call to await, because that's what creates this, that's what turns this function, quote unquote function, that's what turns it into a procedure. It's not really a function anymore. And that is what, when this promise is lost, that's what allows two callers to basically call this concurrently, as I understand it, and try to consume the same stream, which is not what the semantics were in the original implementation. Okay. Thank you, Anzi. Welcome to the stream. Why are you full of regret? I hope it's not because the H is. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it is because the H is. Yeah. I think it's fine. I think the first H is fine. But the second H, if someone is like Russian or Chinese, or is like trying to read like they read in Russian or Chinese, then they don't know what to do with it. All right. Anyway, so this will probably have to go. That's probably going to get addressed by William Brink as part of, or he'll decide what to do with this little await. So probably there's an analogous problem with this. Let's see what the usage is of read until close. Okay, that's in StreamML. Sorry, not read until close. I already reviewed this function. It's this one that I haven't really looked at in detail yet. So read convenience. Okay, that's just okay. So that's probably gonna have a similar problem. Yeah. I certainly didn't know what to do with it. So looking at this read right here, so read convenience is basically the underlying implementation of read. In the original Dream API, this returned the string option promise. I should forgot why it's an option, but anyway, it returned the promise. So if someone started, if you called read twice, because this immediately tells you that it's like quote unquote blocking, or does IO. So if you called read in somewhere else while this IO was happening, you would just get the same promise back. And if you waited on that promise, you would get two references to the same exact string back. But now we have a stream to string option procedure instead of a function, which is just implemented by a stream.read convenience, which if you enter this function, so I as a caller, if I enter this function, I'll immediately create all this internal machinery, but then I'll set up a loop to read the stream, but I will end up waiting on that promise internally inside this function. And while waiting on this promise, this thing essentially can get blocked inside an effect handler, which allows me to then concurrently call read again, which will immediately create a new second set of this internal machinery, a different promise. Yep, I'm glad to be back, and thank you. And yeah, I understand about Dream being in limbo. I'm actually surprised nobody forked it and just continued to work on it. I think there are like some forks, but they're not very like packaged or put together. Anyway, I actually pulled a bunch of things that were in the forks already into the mainline Dream. It was like one of the first things I did when I get back. Anyway, so if you call, I think this read basically can block inside effect handlers, being a procedure now, basically inside this function, inside a wait exon, and that allows a concurrent read to happen, which will cause a whole second set of machinery to get created, which will cause basically a concurrent read of an ephemeral stream. So I probably will just leave a comment about that as well. Let's close this. So that's this function. I believe. Yep. Yeah, thank you. I agree about the situation. That is definitely true. So I'm just going to summarize what I just said in a literary fashion. I believe this has the same issue as so if a user calls dream.read, can potentially block in the effects sense in this should allow because I'm new to like all this, I'm just gonna be careful with my words. This should allow, in my understanding, a second call to dream.read to be made, which will be executed concurrent, or would. Actually, wait, wasn't this always the case? This was always broken, right? That's interesting. I'm gonna just note that in this comment. Wait, yeah, I think this was always broken. Let me, yeah, I'm gonna leave this as a draft for a second. I think I have test cases out for this though. I don't think it was always broken. Let me just verify. So we have, I have it over here. So we have val read, which is implemented in DreamML as just a forwarding to message.read and message.read. But this is right now in this PR. So let read is just a wrapper around this function. But then in the original, let's open a terminal. Oh. Let me just commit my comment. So in the original, this was just a wrapper again. Yeah, it's right here. So, and it was implemented as also wrapper around read convenience. So this may have been a bug. This is, I'm literally like misunderstanding something, or this was a bug the whole time. Let me just see what test cases. I'm like rusty on what test Dream even has. So somewhere there should be tests for streams, and there should be a read of like a. There might be a test of concurrent reading. Um, Maybe I just had a convention that shouldn't be done. Anyway, even if this was always a problem, like this is probably, even if I did it this way, perhaps I had there was the understanding that if you do it this way, you should only do it from one place. But if but body was a convenience function that would take care of these issues for you. So let's see. Let's actually, please click. Thank you. No, that didn't work at all. I don't know why control clicking doesn't work anymore. In okay, it worked. It did open the page. It just also messed up something in code. Yeah, because dream.read reads one chunk, and the idea is this is like an advanced I/O function, and you as the user, yeah, I remember now why it's a string option promise. Um, so then there probably isn't any issue here because it's not any more broken than it was in the sense that the API itself is designed this way. It's designed to be broken if you intend for two concurrent reads to return the same data. This read is supposed to be a streaming read, and you're supposed to know to do streaming reads in only one place as the user. This is like sort of a semi-advanced function. So in that case, I'm going to withdraw my criticism. Good thing I didn't send the message. So yeah, that problem is there, but it's not actually a problem. It's only a problem in this read until close function. Because read is not supposed to be ephemeral. Let me just double check that it was not ephemeral before. It's supposed to, like, you're supposed to be able to do multiple reads even concurrently and just get like the same data for the body from all of them. So let's see. This was in message.ml. Read is implemented as, see, like, I don't know why it's twitching this way. It's like this view returns to an anchor after I start scrolling. Probably this anchor. I guess it's just loading very slowly because it's a huge diff. Although, yeah, I'm not gonna speculate too much. Let's see. So this is the original master. If I go to message.ml, like body. So how was body implemented? I thought I turned this off. 1 second. So, by the way, you can use, if you want to mess with my editor, you can do line, like for example 190, and it'll highlight line 190 in my editor. I'm kind of experimenting with this bot, this integration. So in case you want to like get my attention to some line, you can also delete them. I can delete them from the editor, these highlights. We can also do it from the chat. All right. Anyway, so okay, yeah, this is the original. I'm just confirming. I'm getting like confused by all these like branches and everything. Yep. So if there was already a promise, so this is the difference. In the past, this was a promise. So if there was already a promise available, I should do a build so I can get annotations. So this, if there's already a promise that was going to eventually contain the body inside it, then nice. Now we have annotations. Instead of alpha, we get string promise in that little tooltip. So if there was already a promise, this would just return the promise. Otherwise, it would choose which stream to read from, and then it would start this read until close function, which would return a promise immediately, even if the read itself would eventually block the IO. It would return the promise immediately, and it would immediately set the message.body to that promise that was returned by read until close. So this was in the past, and then it would return that promise. So the second caller to body would then see that promise already set. But now this is not a promise anymore. This is just a string. And that string only gets set when this procedure completes, which can block inside. So the function, that's the difference. Like with LWT, you have actual functions, whereas with effects, you now have procedures. All functions potentially become procedures, which is really annoying in a way. Let's rebuild this. That's weird. Anyway. Okay, yeah, it's working out. Yeah, so the semantics here are different and this is a bug. Okay, but I think it's fine. Okay, let's review right. Let me grab some water. So this is also concerning. In the past, set body essentially allowed you to, sorry, not set body, set content length headers works differently now. So in the past, if one of these headers was already set, either content length or transfer encoding, then you would do nothing. Next, if there was no message body yet, no promise basically, then we would assume that we would know for sure that this is a streaming body. Because all helpers that create messages with fixed bodies immediately, they always put like a result promise already here. But here something else happens. So, and then if we do have a promise, but it's not resolved yet, then we know that this is a stream, but if it's already resolved, then we know the stream has already been consumed. So then we would just get the length of the result and set the content length header. Whereas now, I think the semantics are substantially different. But whether this is important though, whether like they're different in a broken way, depends on how this is used in the rest of the code, in the rest of the PR. Because right now, if there is no body, it could mean that we're in this case, or we're in this case where there will be a body, but it hasn't been computed yet, which I think is fine actually. Yeah, so it's not broken, right? Because these functions, it might become broken depending on how Will and Bring fixes the above function. So I'm going to give myself a note about that. So after the message.body bug is fixed, This might become broken depending on when message.body is updated and what type it has. So I'll just have to review that later, but most likely, if Willenbrink makes this a promise again, then this will just be fixed in the right way anyway. He'll have to fix it in the correct way, in the way it was before. Okay, so I think that's fine. What's happening here? I believe this is just the calc. Not quite, because again, write in the past was a function that returned, it set up a bunch of machinery and returned a promise. I basically called some underlying function. Let me get out of Discord so we don't get this notification interrupting us. Whereas now write is a procedure that can block inside effect handlers because of this await, which could be, may or may not be significant. Okay, so this is basically used in one place. We're reviewing message.write. Yeah. Okay, it's not significant actually because in the past I believe this was just a unit promise. Yeah, it's the same issue as with read. Read is an advanced function for dealing with streams, and so is write. And you're supposed to know not to do these concurrently. So I think it's fine the way it is now, the way it's been changed in the PR. I'm gonna skip all this WebSocket stuff. I want to get the like basic request response core working. Yeah, this fragment stuff has to do with WebSockets. Yeah, receive is also WebSocket. Send and receive are WebSocket functions. They're WebSocket analogs of read and write. Okay, so I think there's only one real bug inside the core. It's not so serious. Inside the pure core. Okay. So I'm gonna just try to do this. It's been a long time. Just mark this as viewed. No, this one. Okay. So now let's look at. I want to probably look at HTTP next. How the integration with HTTP AF is done. Because all these things are like sort of helpers. This might be good to look at actually. No, it's not that important. All these things are like higher level helpers that are built on top of the lower level like core of Dream. Yeah, you just look at these later. Yeah, so this is the most important part. Next is going to be http.ml and adapt.ml. Great, a large diff. All right, let's take a look. I hope it's not all white space changes from like maybe some, yeah, it looks like there's a whole bunch of white space changes. That's pretty annoying. I guess I can just manually undo these. Yeah. Have you written code from scratch for both LWT and effects? I actually haven't written like any code over like effects like yet, except like some really toy code. I'm probably gonna just ask Willem Brink to undo these, and if he doesn't undo them, of course I can just easily undo them. These whitespace changes. I mean, it's not really a big deal to look at them, but at the same time, this diff is just it's gonna take too long to look at, right? Because like for example, this line, because the diff has more than just whitespace changes, this part of the diff, but this line only has an indentation change, right? And I can't tell immediately. I have to actually like read the line. Yeah, same thing over here, right? Okay, so the obvious thing to do here is just to tell Willem Brink, ask Willem Brink to undo this, and then wait a day. And if he doesn't undo it, then I'll just undo it myself to minimize the diff because this is just not practical. Nice, nice. You have a lot more experience than I do right now. Recommend him. Right. So the Chrome UI is like dying. The web pages UI is like dying in this web page because of these huge diffs. Yeah, the thing with effects is all like I've been saying during the stream, like all functions, it's no longer clear if they're functions or not. I've only started realizing this during this review. Like I knew that obviously like on a theoretical way, but while doing this review, I just realized that like you have this function, it looks like it just gives you a string from a like a request, but it's not clear that it's gonna like do a whole bunch of reading and maybe wait 5 minutes because it's not a function anymore, right? It's actually a procedure, and then you have to like deal with fibers and everything else, even though that's not directly related to effects. Although actually it is. It is. Yeah, it is directly related to effects. Okay, so would you be the white space changes in this? Yeah. Right, I'm gonna just. Yeah. I was considering leaving like instead of having alpha promise like I have in Dream right now, like type yeah this thing, which is an alias for LWT, not just rename it to like alpha IO or something, like in Haskell, and just annotate all the procedures with it, even though it'll be like alpha IO equals alpha. So, just so it's clear, like because I don't want what I don't want to do is like my documentation is like really tidy, I don't want to be like going to each one of these functions and figuring out which one became a procedure and writing here, this is a procedure you can block, this is a procedure it can block, you know, or in some other like short way. What do you mean by a scope? What I'm suggesting is I'm going to do like alpha async equals alpha, just as a sort of annotation. Because right now you can tell immediately that this function, well, first of all, it is a function because it just sets up something and gives you a promise, and the promise represents the procedure. Whereas in direct style, in quote unquote direct style, you end up with something that looks like a function, but it is actually itself a procedure. It's not that you have a promise that represents a procedure, but you just literally have a procedure because of the effects that occur while the quote unquote function is being executed. So it's not actually evaluation anymore. It's more like execution, and it's kind of like C. So something is lost in this way. Also, documentation is nice. That's why I went to this website in the first place, right? Documentation immediately tells you everything that it does I/O. Whereas in direct style, this will just look like. Actually, why this is not significant that it returns a promise. Yeah, no problem. On on Z. These functions over here actually benefit from direct style because the only reason they return a promise is because the surrounding scope that they're typically used in returns a promise. So they precompose their result with LWT that return. So this is actually a good place. This is a counterexample to what I'm saying. But mhm. I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean, Rika. Yeah. But all these other functions, like this one, actually does IO if you call it. And when you change this to just returning a string to appearing to return, it doesn't actually, it no longer evaluates to a string. Um, but it now returns a string, which is like the C versus FP way of saying it's a procedure instead of a function. Because right now this is a function that evaluates to a promise, which eventually becomes fulfilled with a string. And that's clear from the type. Once this is gone, I'm going to have to write over here, right, that this can do IO. Because it's just not clear. Otherwise, it looks like a getter, right? But it's not a getter. It's an actual like it's an actual like IO causing function. That's kind of like that really worries me. I'm gonna put a note in about that also. Actually, okay, I'm gonna finish this. I don't think the note is gonna be like acted upon by anyone, but I'm gonna put it in just so as like a data point in case they have some more like design thought thinking that they want to do. Maybe they can benefit from this note, this one piece of feedback. So I want to put the good and the bad into this note because, for example, val HTML. Actually, why am I doing it this way? I don't have to paste that. We have links, like code preview links, right? So I can just go to dream.mli over here and find val HTML and just do this. Get a permalink. So functions like dream HTML currently return the promise only because the surrounding context typically expects a promise already fulfilled. once those functions. Really changes in API due to direct style in more detail. Yeah. And then functions like dream.read. Formerly returned alpha promise. Formerly were functions that evaluated. So people who do FP will understand what I'm talking about, like by using these words. But I'm like alluding to. Formerly were functions that evaluated to alpha promises. True functions that evaluate to alpha promises, and the type annotation. The promises stood for the IO procedures that they would trigger. They're not really functions though. They were causing like co-effects. So I'm gonna just put in quotes because I'm not being like super precise here. Co-effects is when you like write to, like roughly speaking, it's when you write to the outside world. So when your function doesn't depend on reading from the outside world, because then it's not a function anymore, in like FP speak, but it's like a procedure or a routine or something. But if it's like writing to the outside world, then that's like a quote unquote code effect. Yeah, because that's basically what I'm thinking of doing as a sort of like palliative. I don't know what to like to mitigate this problem that I'm going to describe right now. Try to describe the problem stuff for the IO procedures they would trigger. I'm going to put over here speaking imprecisely. They now become they now uh, give a false actually I shouldn't use dream.read, I should use dream.body. It's just even more basic. It's even more basic and therefore even more likely to trip up like a beginner. Right? And that's something I don't want to do in Dream with trip up beginners. That's like totally against the philosophy of Dream. So this is now an alpha message. I'm gonna even simplify it here to like request string. But it's not reflected in the type signature in any way and may have to be documented, which would. So this is moving documentation out of like types into like natural language. Okay, so just gonna proofread it real quick once. Currently, let me just verify that I do indeed return audio fulfill promise. No, I'm not gonna do it. They get the point. It's just a sketch. Yeah, like I can't even write these are true functions. They were true-ish functions. Um, yeah, okay, I'm gonna just nice. And async was just a response, right? Response async would have been just response. So basically, you wrote the dream that I'm trying to like that we're me, Thomas Leonard, and William Brick are trying to create right now. Okay, let's keep going. Too many tabs. Let me close some of these because I'm gonna get confused. Like streaming two monitors, all these tabs. It's just gonna be a mess. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually not gonna review this file right now because it's just gonna be not time efficient. Um, so before the next stream, I will decide. By the way, I'm probably gonna mix it up so that yeah, nice Rika. I'm probably gonna decide we can do like AIO reviews and then maybe do other things also that are not necessarily even in Dream or elsewhere in OCaml. Maybe like do one day something in Dream, like something like heavy duty like EIO, and then maybe something easier or just for example like a PR to Bicycle PX or even just a toy project on a different day. Because otherwise it's just gonna be a slog. Uh, So anyway, before the next stream in which I do EIO, I'm going to either Will and Brink will have done this or I will have manually undone these white space changes so we can proceed with this. And maybe I will have just reviewed this file by then. And we'll just continue with wherever we are. So I'm going to skip this for this stream. This is all this file, right? Yeah. Okay. These are the two most important like sets of files. Actually, I can review adapt.ml real quick, or at least take a look at it. Right. I guess all that changed here is this function, so that's probably like there's first of all this is probably not broken, and if it is, it's just only used in some helper that's only used by apps, uh, which is of course important to look at, but it's not important for the core of Dream to work. So I think I can just skip this for the first like stage of review. So I think yeah, I think the initial the things I can do immediately I think have been done with this review for today, and we can continue with something else. By the way, if anyone wants to discuss, I'm going to pick something in a second. But if anyone wants to discuss anything else from OCaml or like work on some project, feel free to just like suggest something. What I wanted to do is some tedium. I might do this offline. If you want to see this, then please let me know. So I do it offline. But I want to like clean up my review branch so I can push some things back into the PR. What's going on here? Right. Yeah, I'm gonna do this offline. It's just tedium. I basically just pull apart a diff and commit some parts of it and push them back into the PR and leave other parts locally for me. All right. Let's see. I even called this commit a mess during review. because of the mess I'm causing. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of tedious things to do, like upgrade all these vendor dependencies. By the way, if anyone wants to contribute to Dream, in case, because I understand there were some people asking about this. This is so annoying. Okay. I created a label needs repro. So if someone wants to write like a toy project that just like demonstrates some issue, then that's like a really easy thing to do. I'm gonna just go ahead and do this right now for one of these issues, so we can just address it. I think this one is probably something easy. Actually, wait, it's a good first issue. Nice. I just saw I searched for OCaml in Twitch today, and I saw Tej's recent streams. I didn't know about Tej until like this morning. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about him. What is Tej doing? I understand he was working on NewVim. Is he like integrating NewVim with OCaml in some way? Like adding editor support or something? Or he just has a hobby interest in in OCaml at the moment? Hmm. But why is he doing OCaml? Because as I understand, a NewVim is not written in OCaml in any way. Hmm. Right. Oh, I don't want to debug this issue right now. Rika, I don't know if it's been a problem. You mean like for users? I'm gonna open the Dream docs for this question. Yeah, yeah. I decided, like Rika, for small lists, like list updates are very quick, right? So what I decided is that most web apps probably won't be setting that many headers. It's not a question of setting, but rewriting them, right? So usually you just kind of append onto the headers, and then in your web app you might not even set that many headers, but you might have some kind of proxy or CDN, not CDN, but like hosting service adding the rest of the headers, right? So I'm just not sure that it's really a problem. So I think like list is probably fast enough. Yeah, for like short lists, with today's like hardware, probably short lists. In the past, like the wisdom was like lists of up to 5 elements are as quick as anything, even for updates, for rebuilding them. But probably with like today's hardware and everything else, that like constant where a list becomes a problem might even be bigger. It could be like 10. I don't know. We have to like check with experiments. But even by the way, and even if it's a problem for like slightly bigger lists, it might not be that big a problem, right? Relative to what else is happening during your request. So I think it's not really a problem. Obviously, if you're setting like a lot of headers, but there are like limits on how many headers you can send, as I recall, right? So I think in practice, it's not going to be a problem. And it's much easier to understand what it is. Like when someone sees this instead of when someone sees this type, they just know exactly what it is, and they can write literal for it very quickly. So I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Nice. Anzi, I'm reading your message about uh, what is SCIP? Probably not that. I'm assuming that's him. Well, This is not helping me. Anzi, if you could tell me what STIP is. Okay, so is it's like something part of NewVim? Thank you, Zeklar. Oh man, it's opening in the wrong. Yeah. Is it one of those recursive acronyms? I'm assuming this is a recursive acronym, in which case I'm slightly disappointed. Thank you. And where is this used? Is this used in NewVim? And so the reason Tej is doing this is because he has an interest in OCaml, right? So he's just kind of experimenting with this source graph. Okay, I'm like way behind the times in some ways. Well, and who's behind source graph? Yeah, all right. So this is like some kind of an analysis tool, right? One second. Like my question is basically, has he been in some way tasked to work on OCaml? Or is he working on OCaml as a sort of hobby and then basically applying it to things that he's working on otherwise or is interested in otherwise? If we know. Maybe I'm asking even like too personal of a question. So yeah, I'm just curious. So source graph is basically some kind of analysis tool, right? It's not an IDE, is it? Yeah, because it says write, which is the only thing that made me like if it said just like read and fix and search and it'll do this, but because it says write. I see. Yeah, good. That's a good position. Good position to be in. Okay, I'm gonna save this for later. All right, so dream. I wanted to pick an issue to do a repro. See, I kind of don't want to eat into the easy features that are meant for like first-time contributors, good first issues, but I also don't want to do this issue because the same reason why I didn't put this label onto it is the same reason I don't want to do it right now. Like this is one of those issues. Actually, it might be easy. Let's see if we can just reproduce this. Um, Maybe it doesn't require anything complicated, like a real certificate. So let's see. This should be doable with just the example, I believe. Also, yeah, Dream should probably like decode these errors. There should be helpers for that in these libraries, like SSL, OCaml SSL. So we should probably have a helper somewhere that logs the actual reason for that's meant by this message, by this number. So we have an HTTPS example. Camera, please. Okay, let's see. No, I don't mind. I actually appreciate that greatly because I think in terms of like just pure OCaml, I actually don't even know who's streaming anymore. Like to my knowledge, like the whole like OCaml streaming scene is kind of dead. I think as far as I know, TJ is like the only person at this point. So it's good for people to know that there are like streams even exist. So yeah, of course I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I definitely don't mind. Eduardo is streaming these days, right? I need to like ping Eduardo regarding streaming. Thank you. Yeah, I remember he was streaming back in the day, but I haven't seen any of his announcements lately. Maybe because all the Discords are kind of dead. What is that, Theka? Okay. Oh man. Alright. Dream is like trying to be useful here by printing the address, so you can just click on it, but the terminal will like click it. So let's do it over here. Do an exec https.exe. Okay. Alright, we should probably like I'm gonna create an issue about this because I don't want to see this either. This is equally as scary to me as to beginners. I see. Yeah, thank you. I'll be taking a look. Where's Theka? I'm assuming this is it. Yeah. Yeah, OCaml is of course very well adapted to building compilers. So it's very natural for everyone that's like in OCaml, not everyone, but like a lot of people to be interested in building their own language. That includes me, by the way. I definitely like built a lot of little languages in OCaml, but I never tried to make them like popular or something, or like dedicated huge amounts of time to them. And I got mad in the end that OCaml's like own ecosystem was kind of a mess. So I started maintaining LWT like back in the day. Actually, I got back into OCaml because I was working on a project in OCaml. Like I got into open source OCaml, but I just got sick of the ecosystem. I kept having to use Python for things. Okay, yeah. So clearly, all right. So I'll ping Eduardo later. In the meantime, I'm going to create an issue that's like uh, moment service side look like this in the log. In particular, yeah. Yeah, Rika, I just switched to WSL2 and now my switches take much less time to install. That was like literally 2 days ago. Because the Dune team wasn't going to fix a bug that I was having on WSL1 with Dune. So, Yeah, it's a little bit sad on Windows. And yeah, I definitely agree about the ecosystem. It's really a mess. To me, it feels like the Discord communities are slightly dead at the moment. They seem much less active than before. I hope they are growing from whatever low point they reached in the past. When you say Discord communities, are you talking about like OCaml and Reason Discord server, or are you talking about something else? Yeah. Okay, so I'll like diagnose this. I'll triage this issue later and give it. I don't know if this is a good first issue yet or not. Uh, for the repro, it's actually good that I added the needs repro label because whenever I see it, I'm like, well, I need to like put in information about reproduction in my own like writing. I see. On the, can you link me to some Discord servers that are like growing? I'm assuming it's like each streamer's or each like person's community, right? Or something else like that, like some project communities. Yeah. If you can send me some links, I would be very grateful because I'm like way like out of tune with like what's happening these days. No, not at the moment. I had one previously, but that was like for different purposes a long time ago, and I had like basically only two people in it, me and some other guy. So maybe I'll just create one later. I'll put a note to myself about that. Consider own Discord server. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. If anyone can, yeah, if anyone can link me to any Discords where like OCaml development is happening, I'd be very grateful. All right. Anyway, closing this. So in that issue, the gentleman said that HTTPIE is causing this. So let's try. I think I still have. No, I don't have it installed in this VM. Okay, teach Discord. Join teach Discord. Thank you. HTTPIE. It's probably not. Yes, probably not in the package repositories. Okay, okay. But it's probably like out of date. Uh, change log. Oh man, what's going on? Yeah, Rika, the OCaml server seems like somewhat active. The Reason server seems not very active anymore. Oh, great. HTTP AI. Okay, so they changed to some kind of weird versioning scheme. All right, I'm just gonna install this one. What? Oh man. Yeah, all right. Okay, so the server is running. Let's try localhost 8080. Yeah, it'd be nice if these guys, if this gentleman had provided command lines that they actually ran, so I could just do this quickly. I mean, I'm definitely getting some kind of error. There's no way to know that it's the same. Enjoy, Anzi. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so basically nothing is working. Yeah, so like the browser was able to at least load the page, but these tools are not able to do anything because of these exceptions. And these probably the people who reported this issue are not around anymore. I mean, like they're not active anymore because this was in January. So I'm probably gonna just and nobody replied to this message. So I'm probably gonna just assume that the error I'm just gonna fix this error and hope that it's the same. Okay. So at least I know how to reproduce this. It's kind of disappointing that the example doesn't work to the point where even like HTTP IE, maybe it never was working. I don't think I ever tried HTTP IE or curl on that example because it's so janky that it just didn't occur to me to try those things because this is like using some fake certificate that's just built into Dream. It's just like a string that's inside Dream. So actually, I'm gonna remove this label so people don't try to reproduce this now. I can always add it if I do think that the error that was reported is not the one that I'm fixing now, or will be fixing soon. Then I can always just put back this label. Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna start wrapping up the stream. Uh, like offline, I'll probably just go through these issues and just figure out what else is good to do on stream. So basically, like triage them, give them labels like needs repro or good first issue. If somebody would like to contribute these issues, like a really easy thing to do is to look at something that needs repro and it's a good first issue because it's probably easy to just create the reproduction case, and even just creating that case and posting it here in the issue itself will like, or in a gist, will help greatly because they'll just save a whole bunch of time. So even if you're not ready, nice, thank you. Are you Dennis? Dan? I'm just guessing right now. Yeah, yeah, nice. It's nice that you could make the stream. Ah, I see. I was going to tell you to please comment on the issue, but I see that you have done so. So I'm going to go ahead and assign you, since I think you don't have like access to assign yourself or something, and just give you like a heart. All right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, literally, if you can just reproduce this, if you can fix it, great. But if you can just simply reproduce this, um, something I can just like basically paste into the editor in a couple windows and just see what's going on. That's already like a big help. Yeah, Dennis, I was going to write you a message about these issues, but it's good that you're in the stream. Mhm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a separate like we're like using Twitch chat and like get issues to chat. It doesn't have to be a separate repo like full blown. It can just be a gist. Yeah, just like as a repo. But it's yeah, it's up to you. Either one works. It can also just be like pasted into a comment because I can just basically create it. I can just go into like the hello world example and just replace the code of that example with your case and just see what happens. So if you don't mind too much, like if you literally are able to do it inside the hello world example, just paste out your final code and into a comment into a code block, and I'll just do the same thing on my side in reverse. It's a little bit janky, but it works. It's good the examples are in the repo for that purpose. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, usually when I'm debugging something, I just pick an example that has like most of the pieces for building like the thing that I'm debugging and just like totally like parasitize on it. Okay, so thank you. No promises. It sounds like a reference to the Eio PR. I have like a goal of decreasing the amount of issues in Dream, like open issues, but I just like opening issues today. I should need to like not do that. Yeah. I need to not be opening issues because now I have 89 issues. I didn't have 89 issues before I started this stream. I had 88 issues. Rico, you're looking at this issue, right? Or the other one? Can you leave a comment in the issue? I'll just use it to find your GitHub username and I'll just assign it to you so that I don't like, we don't get confused. It's also a good way to tell other people. And by the way, no promises is fine. Like I mean, yeah, you aside, it's fine. Like we're not like we're not expecting any work here. I barely even expect work from myself. So, but always appreciative, of course. Yeah, someone I forgot who, but somebody was asking about using TLS. Yeah, yeah, we're not doing it. It's just for people who are interested. Only for like easy issues. And there's no sprints. I hate all that kind of stuff. I hate everything related to like company development. Don't go. By the way, if you clip this and like send this to the next place I'm interviewing at, if I do, then it's gonna be really bad for me. But I'm really not into that kind of stuff. Yeah, please don't clip this. All right. What I was gonna do something. Oh yeah. What I was going to do is take a look at. Oh yeah. Somebody asked about TLS yesterday or 2 days ago. And what I mean by TLS is OCaml TLS. And yeah, back in the day, uh, there was OCaml TLS support, and I still have parts of it excuse me, commented out somewhere. Excuse me. So if that was one of the people in the stream, excuse me, then here's that code somewhere. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, so oh yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, this is like what's left of that code. Basically, it's like if you dig in Git history, there was a much bigger like this is like basically an object. It's a record, but it represents like a vtable, a set of functions, or like an interface, right? It's like a satisfied an interface that's been satisfied with a bunch of functions that delegate to or to the correct library. And this is this. I believe this is still somehow using OCaml TLS, but this value is hidden from the Dream API, so you can't actually get to this. Yeah, so there's even to do about that. But this was more fleshed out in like an earlier commit, but I ended up deleting most of the code because it was like failing to build with OCaml TLS installed. So I just deleted everything that needed OCaml TLS actually installed because of like the problems that I was having with it. I decided to just stick with SSL for now. But yeah, that can be restored, I guess, in the future. So yeah, I think the issue was that it wasn't doing ALPN correctly. This protocol selection when you like negotiate between during SSL negotiation, you negotiate between H2 and HTTP1. Although anyway, there's a whole bunch of complications in HTTP. It's just a huge mess. I was also actually glad to forget it. Like during the year that I wasn't really working on Dream so much, kind of like forgot all these details, and I feel good for a while. But now I'm starting to remember them, and it doesn't feel so good. But it is good to be working on Dream again. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap the stream up. If anyone has any questions, if anyone wants to do anything, like by the way, during the stream, when I wrap the stream up, we can still like do like just something else, just like do like toy projects, like build a Lambda calculus interpreter, like in Dream's playground or something, or like anywhere actually. Let's see if the thing is still up. Yeah. So if you want to do something like this or anything, then we can just do it at the end of the stream. Otherwise, yeah, you can just suggest during the stream, and I'll just note it for the end of the stream. We can do it at the end. But given that there are no suggestions, I'll wait like 60 seconds and then we're gonna end the stream, I think. I'm gonna just admire my code because I don't feel like starting anything for 60 seconds. I'm actually gonna test how well the switch, the editor support works for flipping through the switch, for example. Nice. Nice. So I can go to the HMap to things that are installed inside the OCaml. Yeah, I'm gonna stream tomorrow. I'm not sure if I put it in my schedule, but yes, I made time for it, and I'm gonna put like within an hour after I end the stream, I'm gonna like choose a topic. By the way, topics are also negotiable. Like if someone comes into the stream and offers like a way better topic than what I planned, unless all the other viewers are like no, then we can just do the other topic. But I will pick a topic and create like an announcement thing, like that banner. So it's gonna be at the same time tomorrow. This time it's just really convenient for me. Hmm. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully by tomorrow, if we end up doing the PR, William Brink will have fixed that. And if not, of course, I will just fix the white space. And we can just continue with more like actual, like meat and potatoes PR review. Right. I'm going to clean up this workspace. I like everything to be tidy at the end. So I make sure like everything here is folded up and then hide it. Everything is closed. The terminal is clean. So if I open again, it's empty. And yep, when I start this workspace up, it's just completely pristine or not. What's going on here? I can't have that. Wait, get rid of this little purple thing. Okay, it's gone. Okay. All right, thank you to everyone. It was very enjoyable. I'm glad for the info, for some of the like mutual humor. And I hope to see everyone tomorrow or chat with everyone tomorrow. Enjoy. Yeah, thank you.